Hi, welcome to Verse of the Day. My name is Brandon Hathaway. I'm the preacher at the Westside Church of Christ in Owensboro, Kentucky. I want to thank you for joining me today as we open up the Bible and study the Word of God. Today we are in Revelation chapter 15. Revelation chapter 15 as we continue our way through this book. And so as we go through it, when we enter into chapter 15, we're going to look at verses 5 through 8. I'm trying to figure out which verses to talk about. Thought about going with the Song of Moses there, starting in verse 3 and 4. And I think that, again, a key point, and that's what we're going to bring out as we look at these few verses 5 through 8, is we need to know our Old Testament. As it talks about the singing of the Song of Moses, we go back and study about the I think 2 different songs of Moses that there are in the Old Testament. And here as it gets into verse 5, I want you to focus on the sanctuary and the glory of God as we read these verses. It says, "And after these things I looked, in the sanctuary of the tabernacle of the testimony, and heaven was open, and the 7 angels who have 7 plagues came out of the sanctuary, clothed in linen, clean and bright, girded around their chests with golden sashes. Then one of the 4 living creatures gave to the 7 angels 7 golden bowls full of wrath of God, who lives forever and ever. And the sanctuary was filled with smoke from the glory of God and from his power, and no one was able to enter in the sanctuary until the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were finished." There's actually a decent amount in these few verses that you could get up and try to figure out and talk about. But again, my focus is the things that we can kind of visualize from our understanding of the Old Testament already. As it talks about, I looked in the sanctuary of the tabernacle. You know, again, we can go back and Moses, again, verse 3 brings up Moses. And so they built the tabernacle. They built a tent of meeting that went with them everywhere they went. They had the sanctuary, they had the tabernacle, they had the holy place, the Holy of Holies, in which they were to, they came and made these sacrifices. Only the high priest was able to enter in. And so you got all this, and kind of help visualize what it's talking about here, because when we think about the tabernacle, when we think about the temple, that this is when God gave them the design for these things. It is, God's view. A lot of things in there, the cherubims and the designs. It's just, it's what God had put in there. So it's the closest thing that we might say, humans, had to visualize a glimpse of heaven, a glimpse of God's view of things. And so you have the sanctuary, the tabernacle, and you have the angels that came out of the sanctuary clothed in linen, clean and bright, girded around their chest in golden sashes. Again, as it says, they're coming out and they're clean and linen, golden sashes. Again, the priests had to wear specific clothing when they went in, and they had to be cleansed before they went in. They had to put all these things on, the ephod, and so, again, you kind of still got that same visual mindset as you look into it. And then in verse 8, again, the sanctuary was filled with smoke. Again, we know that's how God showed at that time that he was with them, is the cloud that continuously led them, followed them. And when it was time to stop moving that tent, right, the tabernacle, is when the cloud stopped, and they'd set up the tent, the tabernacle, and his glory would be there in between the cherubim's wings and be in the sanctuary, in the holy place, the Holy of Holies. And so it's just all connects to those things, and it's why, again, those who this letter was written to at that time, they would have a whole lot easier time visualizing and seeing these things and understanding it quicker and better than we would. And so we have to sit here and, again, go back and reread those things and study. to help us understand this book of Revelation, to visualize these things, because it's just, if we can get an understanding of all that had taken place and how this is just a continued message that the Lord is victorious always, and that God is always there for us. And that's what, again, the sanctuary was about, is that God was with them. God is there with them. His glory, the smoke, He's with us today. Of course, we're to be the temple today. And so I hope that helps as we look at chapter 15. It's a shorter chapter. I want to thank you again for joining me. Hope everybody has a blessed day. Lord's willing, I'll talk to you later.